Sick. All right, man. Welcome to the podcast. I'm glad we're finally able to make it happen. We tried 4 times or something.
Yeah, I guess it's a pretty awkward time difference though, isn't it? It's like real early for me and too late for you. So
Yeah,
not
and
easy.
also just figuring out what day it's on. It's
Yes, you're on what? You're on Tuesday, are you? You're on Thursday. You're on Tuesday.
I'm on Tuesday and you're on Wednesday, yeah?
Yeah, Wednesday morning.
Yeah, it's wild. The Australian time. I would think that I would have it down, like having come from Australia, but it's still so confusing.
Are you still in Atlanta?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Do you like it there?
Yeah, I do. It's I live in the suburbs, a super chill spot. I'm like not really near the city. I just don't really go out that much anyway. Even when I lived in like SF and Denver and stuff, I'm more or less I'm always in the studio working, and I kind of get my fix of travel, doing shows all the time anyway. And so I kind of like to come back to just like a super quiet, like nothing happening type place.
Oh, absolutely. And you're from the Blue Mountains, aren't you? So that's kind of
yeah, exactly.
That's that sort of vibe. What about the food there in Atlanta?
So I've heard the barbecue here is really good, but I don't eat meat. So in general, where I am around here, there's not super good food, I wouldn't say. Definitely not like SF. SF food was crazy good. That's probably like the best food city I've ever lived in, honestly.
Well, it probably caters to vegetarians a little bit better as well, I'm guessing.
And there's a lot of really good Asian food there and all this kind of stuff. Before we go too much further though, maybe just explain who you are so people know who we're talking to.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Mark. I go under like Markj when I DJ, but I do a thing called Soundfood, which is where I simultaneously cook food and DJ for people at like dinner parties and festivals. That's basically the gist of it. I've released a couple of cookbooks. That's me basically.
Yeah, the cookbooks are sick. I actually have it right next to me. It's like this full box set with like this this cookbook, and then there's also like 4 vinyls in a box. It's like this curated like thing where you have basically a compilation of tracks from artists, and then every track has like a recipe that goes with it.
Yeah, you're one of the only people that's been involved. You and Tom are the only people that were involved in both my cookbooks. One was in 2013, and then the most recent one just got released at the end of last year. So, it's just kind of one of those things where just wanted to kind of showcase what I do in a unique way, but at the same time showcase a bunch of my like super talented artistic friends. Yeah.
Why'd you get obsessed about cooking? Because I know you're like super into cooking. Like, what was it that made you just, I don't know, how'd you get into it actually? Like, how'd you get into cooking?
Well, I was talking about it with a friend the other night, and a lot of it came down to like my mum. She would come home from her 9-to-5 job and then go straight to work on the farm that we lived on. And I just started to want to help her out because it was like she'd be working all day and then have to come home and feed the kids. And so I sort of thought, I can help out by getting started in the kitchen. And then I guess my sister kind of got me into like baking and, the joys of like licking the bowl when you're making like chocolate things and that type of stuff. And then just sort of naturally became obsessed myself just by watching lots of cooking programs, reading lots of cookbooks. And I just think it's a bit like music where, you can't really clock it. You can just, and sometimes you lose motivation with it, but it doesn't take long for me to want to create something new or just cook something delicious for myself, just for health purposes. It's nice to be able to have that power.
Right. So you got into it like super young.
Yeah, I reckon probably like as a hobbyist, like from the age of about 8, and then took it quite seriously from the age of like 10, pretty much. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you got into DJing slightly later than that, I guess.
Yeah, I was like 14, like my older siblings. I started going to gigs at that point and saw a couple of sort of amazing acts like, like Pitch Black from New Zealand and There was a big festival in the South Island called The Gathering, which was kind of like New Zealand's equivalent of Rainbow Serpent at the time, or Shambhala, or, you know, the big ones around the world. And that really opened my eyes. And then my older siblings, they always got me into all sorts of different music from a very young age. So one of my brothers would give me mixtape compilations, like the old school versions, and it'd be like Tool and Aphex Twin and like Photech and Goldie. So it was like we never really had like a specific genre that we were pushed, and so we just liked it all. And I still like it all, you know, like I love my bands just as much as my DJs, and I love my drum and bass, and I love my hip hop as much as I do my house and techno, which is what I play. But yeah, I actually sort of started on Psy randomly, like in the early days. And yeah, I guess like the older I've gotten, the slower my BPM's gotten, along with my heart rate. Yeah.
No, the BPM's going down, the heart rate's going up.
Yeah, heart rate's going up, metabolism's going down. Yeah.
Nice. So you kind of like had these two passions, cooking and music, and then you decided to fuse them together to make the Soundfood thing. And maybe we should also describe like what the Soundfood thing is. From my understanding, it's like there's a thing that happens here. My buddy Kill Smith does this thing on the 4th of July, sometimes called Grill Smith, where he just like cooks up a bunch of hot dogs and shit and like DJs. And It's kind of a similar idea to what you're doing, except you just do like a full like 6-course meal whilst playing like a 6-hour DJ set or something.
Yeah, it's progressed over the years. Like when I first did it, so I've been doing it for like 16 years now, and When I actually first did it at a festival, and I made like a mushroom soup for the crowd, which in hindsight was probably not the best choice because I don't think anyone trusted me that it wasn't going to like mess them up. It was just a legitimate mushroom soup. And then when I took it to the sort of household thing, initially it was like a 9-course meal over the space of a while, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I remember that first event serving the first course at like midnight. I don't think everyone was like super happy about that. And so I've sort of refined it over the years to now I've got it down to 4 courses, and I can usually do that in the space of about 3 hours. So I'll do the first part of the night sort of 7:30 till 10:30, and then I'll get like a guest DJ to come on after me. So it sort of goes from a dinner party into a bit of a actual party. Yeah. So I've got like K+Lab this weekend, and just had a whole bunch of amazing artists perform at them over the years. Just a lot of my heroes, I'll just ask them, and most of them seem pretty down on the idea, you know, which is cool.
Yeah, it's a cool idea. It's like I guess like now I'm getting kind of older and I want to go out to clubs kind of less, like, but I still really love electronic music and like being around a few cool people. One of the things I don't like about being at clubs is like when I go out, I want to have a conversation with someone. I want to like connect with people because that is, you know, something I don't get to do when I'm at home a lot. But being in clubs is like a terrible place to do that because it's just super loud and, you know, everyone's kind of all over the place and unfocused and distracted. And so I feel like this kind of thing is like my ideal type of party, like, you know, 20 people, you're just playing music and eating food and hanging out. So it seems like a solid mix.
No, it's really good. And it's sort of the way the night's structured. It's like you could just come for the food and then leave early if you needed. And our space is pretty amazing. It's sort of halfway between a kind of warehouse space and just an intimate like restaurant in a way. And so yeah, the vibe's really good. The sound's like as good as it can be for a house party, if you know what I mean. And so we sort of dim the lights after the food, and yeah, it's just a good combo of an evening. And yeah, lots of people do just come solo and find like lifetime friends from there, you know, which is a cool social experiment.
Is it the same place that I went to many years ago in Melbourne?
I'm trying to think about the last time I saw you. We moved from that place. That place was really good as well. But yeah, it's a different space. But yeah, we've been here ever since then. And they've been threatening to knock it down for like 8 years now, and they just keep on extending the lease. But yeah, it's just perfect for it. And we've been pretty lucky with the neighbours as well. You know, we've had like one complaint in 10 years of doing it here. So, and it's usually just like people talking in the backyard. That's the problem, not actually the music, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. I remember the place that I went to had like a full-on like restaurant grade kitchen in there. It was like all stainless steel and whatnot. Is the new place also kind of like that?
It's probably not as good equipment wise, but it's just like a big open plan space. So you can sort of tell that it's just, as soon as I walked in here, it was sort of quite blank, and I was just like, oh, this is perfect. Like it's like my DJ gear is right next to the kitchen, and it's just kind of the perfect sort of open plan space, and just got a cool little backyard. And yeah, people really love it. My partner's really amazing at the way she sort of curates it as well. She's like a professional hoarder, I call her. Basically just collects just lots of really cool things, and it's an old op shop or a thrift store as it's called in America, and but it looks like a current thrift store. Like there's all these like old school speakers and bric-a-brac, and yeah, it's just so she's definitely really added to why it's a kind of special place to do it in.
And when you do you do them sort of like regularly, like once every Friday night or something, or is it just kind of whenever somebody goes like, I want to do a Soundfood thing, and then you put one on?
It's kind of up to me. Like I found out if I did them too often, then I would burn out, and the numbers would get lower. So I've sort of tried to find that balance of doing it when I'm ready, and because it's tricky sometimes because it's sort of a little bit underground. I don't really advertise it. It's just kind of word of mouth. And sometimes you book someone, you're like, oh, this guy will sell out straight away, and then you just don't get the numbers, and you can't really force people to come, if you know what I mean. It's like any gig, really.
Well, if you don't advertise it, I mean, how do they know
it's
that
true.
The person's going to come?
It's true. Well, it's kind of like it's what I'm sort of most proud of, that it's sort of maintained for 16 years where I don't need to advertise it. I basically will just do like an Instagram post, a couple of Instagram posts, and people just ask me when they're on, I'll let them know. But the whole like Facebook event page, it just seems like a waste of time and energy for me, you know? It's just like, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work, and I might have to reschedule or something like that. But most of the time, the problem as well is that it's last minute. Like, you know, for K+Lab's one this Friday, this Saturday, I had like 2 people yesterday, and now we're up to like 28 people. You know, just overnight, people spread the word, and yeah, it just takes a bit of momentum. But yeah, it's also because it's my job. I can't just not do it. Like, you know, I just had 3.5 months off, and it was great. I love not doing it, but then it's like, shit, I don't have any money.
So this is your full-time gig now?
It's not my full-time. Like it's my main job, but I also work 2 days a week at a wine store, which I have for like 20 years now, the same wine store. And just those 2 days, it's like Wednesday and Thursday midweek. Those 2 days is just enough to cover my bills, cover my rent, and means that I don't have to stress about Soundfood making me money. It's just like Soundfood is a bonus, and it keeps it a passion for it rather than just struggling through it.
What does the prep look like for one of these events? Because obviously, like, you probably need to prepare your DJ set, which for me, I mean, like, preparing music for a set takes me like 6 months. It's insane.
Yeah.
And then you also have to like figure out what you're going to cook, and then you have to buy a ton of food, and then like probably a bunch of prep before people get there to make sure like vegetables are chopped up or whatever you have to do. Like, yeah, what does it look like?
I mean, it's no different to a lot of kitchens where it's a lot of food prep before the gig. The tune prep is, I'm a little bit more lax with Soundfood. Like, I just have huge folders of tunes that I think would work with it. I might put a little bit of thought into it the night before, but that's the time when I can, the beauty of doing the Soundfoods is I can sort of tap into the tunes that I wouldn't normally play at like a festival or a club gig. So that side of it's relatively easy. But yeah, the food prep, like, for example, like yesterday, Tuesday, I was kind of cleaning the eskies, sorting out the backyard, and then the next 2 days I'll be doing shopping, and then like Thursday, Friday, Saturday is food prep, and then like Monday, Tuesday is cleaning. So it's kind of, it is almost a whole week of work. So it's it's never as straightforward as it sort of appears. But the more prep that I do beforehand, particularly when I'm DJing whilst cooking, it just makes it run a lot better. Yeah.
Do you generally find that you're picking tunes that are like 8 minutes long and playing them all the way out so you have more time to cook?
Whenever I find an 8-minute tune, I'm like, yes, this is a gem. This is the one. I mean, a lot of house music's like that, anyways, you know. But I'm also pretty good at doing the last minute mix these days. You know, like I can just, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, for anyone in America, Eskies ice chests.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that what they call there? Ice chests. In New Zealand, they have chili bins, and it's one of the words that yeah. There's doona, and what do you call a duvet over there? What do you call a doona?
A blanket, I guess.
Blanket. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Doona is another word for sure. Yeah. What does it end up costing to put on a Soundfood event? Because it sounds like you got to buy obviously a shit ton of ingredients and all this kind of stuff. Yeah,
well, that's the other thing that I've sort of gotten better at over the years is because it's really scary when you're buying for like 40 people and you've got like a potato dish. So you're like, that's 40 potatoes, but it's more like 21 potatoes. It's just, it's very easy to get overzealous with it. But I guess the one thing that's good about it is if I've got leftovers, which I often do, then that's just my school lunch for the week, you know? So it's like it never really gets wasted. It's kind of, I've always got something to use it for. But, you know, like I'm saving money to go to Europe in August. So, you know, every penny counts at the moment. And so it's like $75 a head. And, you know, I pay my DJ. I also pay a couple of people to help me on the night. Like one of them is a waitress and the other one sort of helps me in the kitchen. So it's kind of like there's a few costs, but yeah, I've gotten a lot better at. But I also used to add it all up, and it just drive me insane. I'm just like, what was the point of doing that? Like sometimes it'd be like, oh, that was like $3 an hour for that week. So it's just depressing. And so now I just don't even look at it, and I just go, was that a good night? Yes. You know, as long as I'm not totally skint, it's still like I just view it as a successful night rather than counting my pennies.
Yeah, and I mean, also it sounds like it's something that you're passionate about and have fun doing. So, I mean,
sometimes, yeah. I mean, a lot of it is stressful leading up to it, but then and stressful maybe during the first part, but then once it's sort of just seeing people's reaction and the way people respond to it, it's like it's a really rewarding experience. And for a lot of people, you know, like we had a couple that came last time and they didn't know anyone. And I think it was actually just more the social side of it that they just really enjoyed. You know, they just said that they hadn't spent anything like that where everyone's just mingling, and it's just a really good way of meeting people, I reckon.
Yeah, I've still never been to one. I'd love to come to one at some point.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you just have to let me know next time you're back in town, and I think like
guest DJ.
Yeah, you should. I think Oscar Opiuo's coming this Saturday, and he's never seen it either. So yeah, it's always good showing musos a few times. Nash has played one to like 4 people.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. And like there's been a few musicians around the world that I've just asked to play randomly that have been my musical heroes, and pretty much everyone said yes so far, which is cool.
What's your pitch to them when you ask somebody who doesn't know you or doesn't know the event to play? Like, what's your elevator pitch to be like, here's what it is?
Sort of just what I push is just like, you're gonna have to go out for dinner anyways, like, and that's always awkward, like the artist dinner, you know. So why don't just come here and I basically just tell it how it is, that it's just a small event where it's obviously intimate, but it's good food, good environment, and just something a bit different. And you can sort of still play your gig later in the night, if you know what I mean. Like you could be out of here by 11. You know, so yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing I feel like that makes these kind of things more ideal. They're not late as fuck. Like I hate going out these days till like 3 a.m.
I can't stand it when I've got a gig and I'm on at that time. Like I just hate the waiting. Like even like a Sunday afternoon of a festival that you're at on Friday, I find that really hard to manage, like you can see why people like Neelix and that just go in and out straight away.
Yeah, totally. What's the difference when you do this at a festival? How is that just way exponentially harder?
Yeah, it definitely is. I kind of want to sort of like cut that out of my repertoire because I've done it right from the start. It's just, you're rocking up to like super hot conditions in like Queensland or something, and it's just, I just worry about like if someone got sick or something. Like I pretty much make sure everything I do at a festival is vegan and like nut-free and gluten-free, just to kind of negate all the possible common allergens, basically. And then instead of giving people a 4-course meal over the space of 3 hours, it's more like I'll serve like 60 or 70 small things, and if you're lucky enough to get it, then that's cool. I've usually got a friend that sort of walks around the crowd with a plate, and often people don't even know that I'm cooking, and the guy will just be like, "Oh, yeah, the guy up there made it." But yeah, I get a lot of people coming up to me afterwards just saying, "I didn't get any food," and it's like, well, next time,
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I've had some disasters doing it at festivals. Like there was a infamous story playing in New Zealand where it was early days of me doing it, and I was sort of going around the party just being like, "Oh, you wait till you see this spectacle, it's like something fresh," and just got munted all night, and then jumped on in the morning. I was supposed to be making like nachos with salsa, and within like I reckon 5 seconds, like chopped the tip of my finger off. Just and so just blood pissing everywhere, and I'm just trying to pretend like it wasn't happening, trying to like wipe the blood on my pants and continue cooking, which is obviously not ideal. And then just there was like a body of water behind the DJ booth, and so I decided to go and like wash off the blood, and then went back there and then like fell into the body of water. So I'm just like covered in blood, finger chopped off. It was, and that ruined me for ages. Like I was so distraught about how much of a shambles I was, and just the way I did it. That it was probably what I needed, but it was not a great lesson. It was just awful. Yeah. So now I just try and make it as simple as possible, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think those moments are usually pretty instructive for how to do things in the future, which is you got to learn somehow, I guess.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, it sucks that it happens that way. But yeah, often I'll just, like these days I'll just like prep a big batch of falafel, and then it's kind of just like make a few condiments. So it's kind of like when I'm playing on a stage, it's like simple frying and then just a little bit of assembling, something really simple, one mouthful, easy to eat. And like I said, like vegan, gluten-free, all that sort of stuff.
Do you find when you have a creative limitation like that to make something vegan and nut-free and gluten-free that it kind of simplifies the problem, or does it make it harder?
Well, it's fine. Like when I do them at home, it's fine when I have, if it's all vegan, it's fine. Sometimes I'll have like vegan specific nights, but it's when there's like all sorts of bits and bobs of dietary requirements. So it's kind of like, and then often like what I say in my message now is like, I'm not here to cater to your like TikTok diet, so it's like if you just don't want like potatoes, then it's like, well, yeah, it's the dietary requirements can be really hard, and there's nothing worse than like catering to someone's dietary requirement and then you see them eating the steak because they like the look of it. It's like, you fucking said you're a vegan. Like, yeah, that happens often as well, where you're just like, right, okay, so you're not really allergic to something, you just
don't like it.
Yeah. Or sometimes you get the opposite where people are like, you're serving them and they're like, oh, just so you know, I'm quite anaphylactic. And you're like, well, you never told me that. It's like, you're lucky that there's no nuts in that. Like, it's how could you be that blasé when you know that it will kill you? Yeah, some people are just
pretty wild.
Idiots.
Yeah, I guess that's just part of cooking for people. Like food, for some reason, certain types of food for some people can just make them go into some crazy allergic reaction, which is wild. I guess like all restaurants have to deal with this, right?
Oh, totally. And, like I've got a friend I used to work with who's like full on celiac, and he can't really come to one because my kitchen's not really like, to be proper celiac kitchen, you can't really have any flour anywhere, you know. So I can't safely say that wouldn't be a reality. So people like him, you know, he can't travel to like Japan because it's just they don't really give a fuck about it there, you know. It's like, so certain countries you can't even really go to if you've got certain allergens, you know, which sucks.
Yeah, but as a result, they got no celiacs there.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, do you know where the best place in the world is for celiacs, which surprised me?
No, where is it?
Italy.
Oh, interesting.
Like, yeah, because that's all they're famous for is like pasta and stuff. If they didn't have like celiac versions of pasta, then they wouldn't get anyone there, if you know what I mean. So they
because everyone there is a celiac, or like there's a lot of celiacs there?
Just because their main cuisine is like flour-based stuff. So like they have to have really good alternatives for it. Otherwise, lots of people wouldn't go there, if you know what I mean. So they're the most aware of it.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's like it'd fuck them up on the tourism front, kind of.
Yeah, because it's like, because people would look at it and go like, right, pasta town, I'm not going to go there.
You'd think Japan would be all right though, because I mean they eat like just a lot of like sushi and this kind of thing. Well, I guess sushi's got rice, but I mean just the raw like sashimi or whatever could probably be fine, right?
I think that on the whole, there's so many options there, but it's a bit like some of the, like, you know, Thailand and Vietnam and that, where they just kind of say, well, you know, we don't care that there's bones in the broth, kind of, you know. It's more of a like, well, we're not changing the, you know, it is vegetarian because there's no like direct beef in there, but then they're still using pork bones and stuff, you know, which would infuriate some people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm vegetarian, and you just can't avoid meat all the time. I mean, I try my hardest to, but every now and then, you're going to get like a soup or something that's probably got some broth in it that came from an animal, or even like a lot of beers. Like a lot of the beers are conditioned through like fish livers or something, I hear.
I guess like fish eggs and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you still enjoy cooking, Bill?
No, I haven't cooked in years.
Right,
I should. I live off just microwave shit. I got into baking for a bit.
Yeah, you got into sourdough there for a while.
Yeah, I got pretty good at the sourdough. I've never really gotten big into cooking. I should. I never feel like I have the time. I feel like it's something you have to really enjoy doing. And also, I don't really have anyone to cook for, and I feel like cooking for myself is just kind of a waste of time. Whereas if you have like other people around you and I don't know, you take turns at cooking, or you're the cook and you cook for them all the time, it's like, I feel like that's different than cooking for yourself. Do you feel like that? Or do you also just will take the time out, like 3 hours out of your day to cook like a crazy meal for yourself?
Well, I am actually one of those crazy people. Like I will, and I do, and I plate up and I'm like, oh, and then no one's around. I'm like, okay, nice. Take a photo, never look at it. But no, I guess that is another reason kind of why I started Soundfood, is that like a lot of my process is literally just, you know, having a mix at home, and it seems like a little bit less daunting when you've actually got like a nice, you know, project to be doing whilst doing it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like if you know you got to cook a bunch of really nice food for someone on the weekend, or 20 people or whatever, then you kind of want to get some practice in and make sure that it's a successful thing that you can actually make. And
yeah, totally. And yeah, I think it's probably no different to you getting inspired in the studio. You know, some days if you go sit down and you're just like, nothing's happening, and then out of nowhere it'll just be like, wow, I've just had this like really good session that's just kind of spawned from nothing. And it's a bit like that with cooking, when sometimes you impress yourself with what you've made out of what you've got, or you'll go, I'll try cooking something that I've never tried before and fuck it up, and then be like, right, okay, I'll know that for next time, you know?
Yeah, true. What was the point at which you like, do you still follow recipes, or at this point are you just kind of freeballing it all the time?
It's mainly freeballing, to be honest. Like I love reading cookbooks, but I hardly ever cook from them. I watch a lot of cooking programs, and I think you kind of do take on board things. And like I've sort of mentioned in the cookbook, it's like none of those recipes I invented. They're just ones that I've kind of enjoyed and perfected over the years. So I like to credit chefs where I've actually learnt it from, and just little tips. And yeah, I think just just little techniques you develop over the years, like, just the time you take to sweat onions, like a little bit of salt on the onions, just little things that really up your game, so to speak.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like similarities and parallels between cooking and music. I feel like I guess recipes would kind of be the equivalent of like presets or something.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of a guide, and also getting sick of things as well. Like the tune that me and Tom wrote for the cookbook. Like, it's the longest we've ever worked on a tune, and it started to drive us crazy, and I just started to hate it, kind of. So we had to kind of like stop and give it space. And it's the same with cooking. Like, sometimes I'll get obsessed with something like risotto and then go through a phase where I just don't really rate it anymore. It's like you go through little patches of being obsessed with something, and then, I used to be obsessed with like croquettes, and now I don't really like them and things like, it's weird how it changes. Your palate kind of changes over the years.
Yeah, I also think that, especially with food, it can like remind you of a certain experience a lot as well. So like, for example, there was this one time I got super drunk when I was younger, and then the next day when I was hungover, I was just drinking a bunch of red Gatorade, and then I could not drink red Gatorade. I still can't, but it's like, it just reminds me of that day of being super drunk, and
I thought it was going to be a food associated with that story, but no, just red Gatorade. Was that what you're using as a mixer?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember what it was, but I just have a thing with that now. But but it's happened with other things too. Like, there was this one time when I was super young. I was really young, actually. I was like preschool, I think, even, or maybe a little after that. And I was eating like just shitloads of apricots. And then I spewed them all up and had this like disgusting aftertaste in my mouth. And to this day, I don't like apricots.
Yeah, that's
and so
pretty.
It could be a thing like if you've had a big night on the piss or whatever, and you come home and eat a ton of croquettes, then all of a sudden you're like, actually,
not a fan of these. So and the other way, it works the other way sometimes. Like on the farm in New Zealand where I was raised, we used to have a lot of like just Swiss brown mushrooms on the farm. And I used to love picking them, but hated eating them. And I love mushrooms now. And I look back on it and go like, damn, I wish I actually liked eating them then, because we had so many and it was just awesome to pick them, but I just hated them then, Things like anchovies, like olives. I never liked olives, but I love olives now.
Yeah, definitely. I think like when you get older, things like coffee, beer, olives, like these really strong tasting things that taste like shit as a kid, definitely like way better.
Oysters? Do you like oysters?
Well, I don't eat them because I'm vegetarian.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I have not really enjoyed them in the past, to be honest.
Yeah. They're a pretty tricky one to get into, I think.
Yeah, they're not like super common, and why do you think that roasted vegetables taste really good, but boiled vegetables taste like shit?
I want to say, I'm not sure if it's called the Maillard reaction in roast vegetables, but like when you cook a piece of meat or fish, it has this like connection with, like, I guess, frying up the outside of it. And I guess maybe it's textural. Like if you get a really good roast potato done well, then it can still be fluffy on the inside, but then got the crispy exterior, And I guess because vegetables have a lot of sugar in them, a lot of them, like, it's just going to kind of like draw out flavor when it's roasted. And boiling is not a great idea for most vegetables because you're sort of losing nutrients. If you're going to have vegetables, you kind of want them steamed. Like obviously potatoes you got to boil if you want to have mash, but all your like broccoli, carrots and stuff I usually put on the steamer because it sort of retains a lot more nutrients than if you boil them out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. If you're gonna eat shit vegetables, you might as well steam them.
True. Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. Roasted vegetables definitely taste a lot sweeter than if you boil them.
Yeah.
Did you like Brussels sprouts when you were a kid?
Not really. I didn't hate them. We hardly ever had them. My dad really liked them, but it definitely wasn't in that category of like how people hate coriander, but I do really love Brussels sprouts now, particularly roasted as well. Like they're amazing roasted.
Yeah, same. And I read an article, which I don't know if it's true or not, but apparently there was like some plant people, the people who study plants or whatever, who were like, who did a bunch of genetic modification to Brussels sprouts over the last like 10 or 15 years to actually get them to taste better. So supposedly the ones we're eating today are not at all similar to the ones that we ate as kids.
Interesting. I think it's like a lot of it is like, I feel like there's like a smell thing with Brussels sprouts. Like they kind of, even like if I used to work in a fruit and veggie store, and like if you open a box of broccoli, it smells like ultimate ass, you know, it's like real bad. And Brussels sprouts are a little bit like that as well. But that's another cool thing to do with cooking sometimes is when you get someone into something that they thought that they didn't like, you know, that's like a really rewarding feeling when they're just like, actually, I do really like that, you know, like I've only, because like a lot of people, you know, like their mums just, boiled the shit out of stuff and then wondered why they hated it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel that way with a lot of food these days that I really like now, but hated as a kid, Brussels sprouts being one of them. But yeah, I just found it interesting that supposedly the Brussels sprouts today are not actually even the Brussels sprouts that existed back then. And so what I hated back then, I probably still wouldn't like today if it still existed.
Yeah, if it wasn't pumped full of bacon chemicals or something.
Yeah, whatever they did to make them better. They fixed it though.
Yeah.
What is an ingredient in cooking that you think is like super overhyped?
Truffles.
Truffles, interesting. What is it that you think is like overhyped about them?
Well, I feel like their flavor's like subtle. It's a nice flavor, but then to have like a whole bunch of like truffle grated on it, it's more like people just waving their dick around, kind of. You know, it's like a status thing. And I'm not saying that the flavor of truffles isn't good, but it's quite subtle, and I think it's just people associate the monetary value with the quality and then like truffle oil's actually awful. So I think that's probably my answer there. A little bit overrated for sure. Oh, and I've never really been a massive lobster fan, to be honest. I think that's kind of another kind of like status overhyped kind of thing. But that's like each to their own thing. It's just something for me personally that I just find texturally, you know, I think I'd prefer like a smaller kind of prawn or something. But yeah, that's just me. That's not saying that it's not good. It's just saying that in my eyes, it's not really worth the money. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree. I would say lobster and truffles are probably both overhyped. What are some that you think are underhyped, like things that are really good, but like people don't really see the value in it?
Starting to get a little bit more realizing that like tinned fish is really good. Like obviously like anchovies, but if you get really good quality sardines and tuna, it's quite good health wise, and it's just sort of easy, and you know, like you can sort of always have it. It's sort of like an emergency stock in the fridge. I also really love like canned beans, like cannellini beans or ballotti beans, things that you can sort of have in your pantry that you can always whip up a pretty wicked meal with. Yeah. Yeah,
for me, I would say this doesn't apply anymore, but I always thought avocados were underhyped way back in the day.
Yeah.
And people used to refer to it as poor man's butter. And now it's rich man's butter. It's way more expensive than butter.
Yeah, you started that. How much are avocados over there? A lot?
4 costs like $6.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not too bad. But we're also right next to Mexico.
True.
There is tariffs now, but yeah. Are they more expensive in Australia?
It's sort of seasonal. It's definitely a lot cheaper in New Zealand for avocados, but there's also like a lot of avocado heists in New Zealand where people just raid trees after they're just becoming ripe. So they're pretty sought after. There's actually just sort of a restaurant that I saw on a program the other day it's like Shea Butter Jones, which is in Atlanta, and it's in like a service station apparently that you should check out. I'm not sure if it's like meat centric, but I just saw a thing on the sky and it looked like a pretty cool place to go if you're ever in town.
The person's name is Shea Butter Jones.
I think the restaurant's called Shea Butter Jones. I think it's something to do with his name, but
it's in a gas station.
Yeah.
Nice.
It looks pretty nice. Yeah.
How do you feel about like presentation? For example, like if the same dish was served to you at a gas station versus like in a super nice Michelin star restaurant, does it change the experience for you in terms of like how much you enjoy the meal and that kind of thing?
Definitely not, but I do love both sides of it. Like I'm one of those people that I love like cheap food and random places. You know, like I'm always exploring like the scarier, the smaller, the dodgier, the better. Because at the end of the day, it's all about flavor. But then sometimes I like going to Michelin star restaurants to just be like, wow, I could not do that myself. You know, it's like it takes a team to kind of do that. And I kind of like the theater of it, but I can totally understand why for a lot of people it's just too wanky or like expensive or extravagant. You know, it's a huge cost, but as far as like a hobby, it's like kind of like what I like to spend my money on if it's going to be a bit of a treat. Like I've got a few lined up for Europe that are going to like cost me a bit, but I think it's kind of worth it for what I like, you know.
Michelin star restaurants is what you're talking about? Oh, yeah. Cool. Which ones?
So there's one that I really want to go to in Copenhagen called The Alchemist, and that one looks particularly trippy because it looks more than just food presentation. Like it looks like a kind of like a play. Like it's hard to explain, but I'm kind of not wanting to look into it too much because I want it to be a surprise. But it looks very like he's quite big on like sustainability and like climate change, and so he kind of makes you think about that in a way that's quite unique. But yeah, that one looks really interesting. But then like I'm doing research, and there's a lot of places that the Michelin star basically just means like double the price. So trying to find that balance between there's a reason it's got a star, but then it's like you're not just paying for the star. So I actually find Reddit's better for finding actual reviews rather than like TripAdvisor or things like that, where there's just so many like nasty people that you just can't really trust half the reviews, you know?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Reddit's usually pretty good to get like just real normal person views on things, whereas like Amazon or TripAdvisor or Google reviews or whatever, it's like you can kind of bot it a little bit more, where specifically on Amazon, like you can just have so many reviews on a product that are from potentially real people, but they got paid to say it by getting given the product for free or something like this.
And it's like, you know, I've been to plenty of restaurants in my life, and if I don't rate the restaurant, I just never go there. I hardly ever go to restaurants that I rate. So people that take the time to badmouth a place is just douchebags in my eyes, you know? It's like, unless you had sort of really bad service or something like that. But it is pretty heartbreaking. And it is heartbreaking getting bad feedback on your food. You know, like I remember the odd critiques in 16 years of Soundfood way more than I do all the compliments, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
It's always easy to hook on to the people who have, and especially if their critique is like something that you also kind of semi-agree with.
Or that
you kind of knew was wrong, but you're like, oh, maybe no one will notice.
Yeah. There was like a video that someone captured of me doing a Soundfood at a party, and I was like licking my fingers every now and again after kind of touching food, you know, and it was just like I was just in cooking at home mode, and it sort of made me realize that it's like, yeah, you've got to be a lot more professional with that type of thing. And it was like a real lesson where it was like, oh yeah, that is really bad, you know, it's like unhygienic and just doesn't look right. But yeah, in my own world, I wasn't even thinking about it. Yeah.
What do you think the easiest thing with the highest ROI is to cook? Meaning like the easiest thing with like the highest possible outcome
of like people
like
enjoying it, or
like even for yourself, like how much, like what's the ratio of easiest thing to cook to the best meal out?
It's a tricky one. Like I always make this it's not so much a meal out, but I always make it's just basically cheese and onion, but in a blender with a little bit of milk, and it just turns into kind of like almost like hummus kind of texture, but it's something about the texture and you just have that with bread. And that's one of my all-time favorite things that I make at least once every couple of weeks. But I've always thought that like a roast is a really rewarding meal, just because it's sort of the way you have to prepare a roast is kind of like the jobs are sort of in order, but they're not rushed, if you know what I mean. So it's kind of like, you put the meat on and then you do some spuds, and then so it's kind of like I like the prep, and then things like roast onion, the way that they can become from when they start is probably the most like transitional vegetable. My favorite vegetable actually is an onion. Like, from a raw onion, how intense that is, to a really well roasted onion and how sweet and texturally different it is. I think that's like quite a big turnaround, that one.
Yeah, it is weird how if you just do something to some food that it like completely changes the flavor palette. For example, pesto. It's like literally just a salad that you blend, and somehow it ends up tasting like pesto instead of a normal salad.
I reckon like one of the coolest things I got, unnecessary cooking apparatus, was a mandolin, like a real fine knife. Do you know what a mandolin is? Like,
yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's kind of
Google
like,
it real quick.
I was quickly get it. Hang on.
Oh, you're going to get your mandolin? No, whenever I Google mandolin, I just get a guitar.
So it's basically just like a really
things. I see.
Yeah, like just a thin knife basically, but you slice vegetables on it. But how thin it can get it, it's amazing how just changing the surface area of a food can really change the flavor as well. Just like textures can make food a lot different. So that's been a real eye-opener for, how you can take the same thing and just cut it in a different way and it actually produces a different flavor.
What about the opposite question? What's the hardest thing to cook with the lowest return on investment?
Well, there's a couple that spring to mind. Like I did like my own ramen once, and that took me a week to make and like 20 minutes to eat. So that was pretty shit. And then the other one that I really didn't rate at the end of it all was a beef Wellington. That's like a fillet of beef with like mushroom and pancake and then pastry. And it's time consuming, it's hard, and just not really worth it, like, and then like I'd argue that, leave sourdough to the professionals, because I always found that process really annoying as well,
It's time consuming. Yeah, I was enjoying it when I was doing it. It's like you have to go grab it and turn it every 40 minutes to like get more air into it and stretch the gluten strains and all this kind of stuff. And I really enjoyed it, and I thought the end result was great. And I also didn't think it was that hard, because you don't have to like be at the bread all the time. It's like you go fuck with it like for 2 seconds every 40 minutes, like 10 times, and then you put it in the oven, and then that's it. It's bread. It's like total time that you're actually doing shit. It's like 20 minutes.
It's not that much, yeah.
It's not much, and it's also 20 minutes spread over like 2 days.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty good return on investment for effort, but it is a lot of waiting. You got to be patient.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think there's certain things that I just, after a while, I just go like, look, it's just better to get it from a place that does it better. I don't know. There's some things, I guess, because I do a lot of cooking in general, those types of things, it's not as valuable for me to do it. But yeah, I remember you saying you were really enjoying it when you did it. Even making pizza dough I find pretty annoying. It's quite like, those guys are crazy, like their strength, it's like I'm knackered after making a batch of pizza dough.
Yeah, it is definitely some work. What is your general process for cooking? Like if I just gave you a bunch of ingredients, like what is your kind of like thought process for where to even begin? Because usually when I see a bunch of ingredients, I'm like, I have no idea what to do with this. Do I just chop it up and put it in a pan, or like?
Well, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Like I'm guessing that you're either like neurodivergent or ADHD or both, kind of?
Probably a mixture.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, because my partner has the same struggle. A lot of my friends with ADHD have the same problem where it's just a little bit daunting. And I guess like timing is another thing that's really hard. So I guess I would look at it. I would look at it as to like what's going to take the longest to cook. And yeah, I think like for example, yesterday I made like a fried rice, and I think just getting everything chopped up and in front of you makes the actual frying part so much more like smooth because it's just all of it's done. So I think my recommendation would be to just get the prep all done before you start actually cooking, rather than start something chop.
Oh, yeah? Sorry. I mean, the process, the thing I'm talking about is way more fundamental than that. It's like, okay. I look at a bunch of shit and I'm just like, I don't even know, like I have no creativity in that way. You know, if you give me like a bunch of samples and a piece of software and whatever, or like a tracker or something, I can be like, oh yeah, I could see how this could turn into music, and I can just start like fucking around and grinding away at it, and eventually it like forms into something that resembles music. But with when I look at food, and I've like, for instance, I dated this girl once who was super creative with cooking. Like, she would just look at a bunch of ingredients and be like, oh, I know what to make out of that, and just do some crazy shit and like make some really crazy food. It's like, I guess my question is more like what's that process like for you?
Well, I guess that comes with experience as well. Like, having done so much cooking, you sort of, you know what things work together fundamentally or can work together. Like I always love that apparently like a lot of food that grows well in the garden together cooks well together, you know, so like basil and tomato grows well together. And then there's just certain things that like, you know, mustard and leeks and like just certain things that I can look at it and go, well, yeah, those two are a match made in heaven. Like, unless it's completely obscure, you can sort of, just mentally pair them up because of what you've learned in the past as far as like flavor combos, you know?
What would you make if I gave you a bottle of ranch and a banana?
Probably a banana split with ranch dressing on it.
That'd be horrible, I think.
That would be horrible, but I'd probably bake the banana so that it was at least hot.
True, yeah. Yeah, I guess is it possible to make a banana savory? I guess if you maybe cook it for long enough. Yeah,
well, plantain is kind of banana-y.
That's a good
it's
point.
Kind of savory.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, I think like even just, I have done that before where you just roast it in the skin and it does go pretty gnarly because of the sugar thing again, you know. It's like, it's almost more like eating like hot banana marshmallow. So you just zap everything's the answer.
True. Yeah, I guess also like how hot something is or how cold something is can really affect the taste as well. Like, for instance, a really cold, like shitty beer can be good, but a room temperature shitty beer is horrible.
It's true. It's very true, yeah. I've even got mates that have started, I mean, I should have been doing this a long time ago, but they keep their beer glasses in the freezer. And that just makes it nice. Are you still drinking nice craft beers, Bill?
No, I've been sober for like 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, nice.
I completely. Yeah, I got out of I had to go to rehab and shit. I got super into ketamine, and then it like fucked my life up pretty badly for a bit, and so then I went to rehab, and after getting out of there, I just haven't touched any substances because I feel like as soon as full sober, I feel like if I start drinking, then I'm immediately like, maybe I'll go get a
vicious cycle. Get some heroin. Exactly. I can totally understand that. It's a slightly tricky part about my wine store job is like just being around booze a lot, you know. It's kind of, it's like I enjoy learning about wine and trying nice beers, but it is kind of a vicious cycle just having it around all the time.
Yeah, what is your job at the wine store? What do you do?
So basically just order craft beer. And so so just 2 days a week I'll just go and pick a bunch of craft beer, put them on file, put them out, and then I'm sort of done. And it's just like normal shit kicker bottle store jobs, like putting slabs away. But I do really enjoy, like, we get a lot of winemakers coming in and trying wines with us, like whiskey tastings, like, so it's kind of interesting when you're not a total wine wanker, but you have interest in it, you know. It's like like quite scientifically interesting. You're just like, wow, it's just so much involved in the process. I find it quite fascinating.
Yeah, in general, the process of making alcohol is a pretty interesting process. It's just like fermentation. Or for example, I made a beer once. Oh, I made a bunch of beers, but the process is basically like it's essentially like you're making a giant tea, and then you just put sugar in it and just leave it sitting there for ages until it goes bad, and then put more sugar in it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, even in the wine game, where it's like you're just relying on a certain harvest to be right. And, like there was bad bushfires here just recently where it just like wiped out whole vineyards. You imagine just sitting on grapes for 10 years and then they're just gone. Like it's just such a sort of vulnerable industry.
And wine, it's probably similar to other alcohols in that it's a fermentation process, right? Where you're essentially like trying to harvest yeast to eat sugar and shit out alcohol or air. I don't know.
Yeah, and then like, the older the vine, the more concentrated the grapes, but the smaller the yield. So it's kind of like, and then it's the same with like, someone was telling about the angel share in whiskey. So like the older the whiskey, the more that it actually just evaporates. So it's kind of like to get like a 20-year-old whiskey, it's like kind of lost half of it just from sitting there. So that's why it's like more expensive.
Oh, yeah, I guess because it would evaporate, right? So
yeah. So like you can sort of start with that bigger tank, and then as the years go down, it just becomes like that. And then that's why that's worth quite a lot of money.
But probably the stuff evaporating off it is more of like the non-alcohol, right? And probably once you leave it there for a bunch and there's way less of it, it's probably more heavily
Pure.
or less diluted, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But yeah, I always just, whenever a winemaker comes in, I'll just always ask questions, because there's a lot of, some people will like make sure they hand pick the grapes. There's like gravity like force, so that it's just like it's just naturally coming down rather than like trying to smash it in, and then other people are trying to agitate it. And then there's like stainless steel tanks, and then there's like concrete tanks that I just found out the other day, and apparently they breathe better. It's shit like that. I just find it fascinating.
Yeah, it's interesting. Have you ever tried to make beer or wine?
Nah, it's another one that it's haven't really had any interest in making beer. And wine, I've sort of been to vineyards and helped do some things, but it's one of my head brewer mates the other day was just like, basically making beer is like 90% cleaning.
Yeah,
so it just
100%.
doesn't sound that fun,
Yeah, you do have to keep everything super clean or the beer goes off. Yeah, the one time I only made beer once, and it turned out successful. But yeah, I was really pedantic about making sure everything was super clean before doing it, because I've read that can fuck it up. Because I mean, you're leaving it sit there for like months. Yeah. And so if there's anything in there that's going to grow, it's going to grow because you got to leave it there for so long.
Totally. And a lot of my mates are actually really incredible at their home brewing. Back in the day, it used to be like, don't touch your uncle's like home brew because it's going to be nasty. But yeah, some of my mates are doing like crazy sours and like real good quality IPAs and stuff now. So I think the times have changed with that.
Yeah, I mean, similar to the Brussels sprouts, right? It's like just kind of figured it out. But yeah, I get like I get probably 10 samples a week of like different beers. So it's kind of like, it's one of the perks of my job. It's like I consider it part of my wage to just be like trying all sorts of different new beers from new breweries. Yeah, nice. Is it mostly Australian beers or is it from everywhere?
Mainly Australian. Like I do have like a couple of like New Zealand distributors, but like anywhere, it's like we don't get any beers from America anymore because it's just too expensive, and it's like even just like sending shit overseas, like sending your box set was like $100.
Oh, geez.
It's like but it's just the way it is now. It's just kind of like Europe and America from Australia and New Zealand is just super expensive. So and Aussie beer is getting better. So there's like you don't really need international beer as much.
Yeah, I mean, it's really far, but also like it shouldn't cost that much. I feel like to send. It's like we got boats.
Yeah.
Just well, I guess they got to pay for the boats and they got to pay the people driving the boats. Yeah, I don't know. I need to learn more about like economics.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't think the current president's helped much with that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the start of the conversation, you said cooking is something that you don't think you could ever fully clock. What would fully clocking cooking look like?
Well, I guess it's like I don't want to fully clock it. I guess it's I don't know. Like there's dishes that I reckon I've mastered, but then I can still fuck them up every now and again, if you know what I mean. So that's kind of what I mean, is that so many different variables. I think if you can just find ways to impress yourself, like for years, it's very easy to be just overcritical of yourself. And you're probably the same with the music, where even if it's good, you think it sucks, kind of. And so one thing I learned eventually was to accept that it's good and compliment yourself and just go like, yep, that is damn good, you know, like rather than just writing it off all the time.
Yeah, there's something that happens with music a lot where I'll think something I'm doing is pretty good, but then I'll like listen to some new album by some person and be like, no, that's really good. And what I've done is actually kind of trash. Do you get that with music too? Oh, sorry, cooking? Like you go out to a restaurant, eat something and then be like, actually, I suck.
Yeah, a lot. But then, you know, as I've heard from your mouth as well, same thing in reverse, where you go like, oh, like I could do better than this, you know, in a way. Sometimes it's just like, that's when I like the Michelin star restaurants for just the presentation kind of technique, which I feel like is sort of harder to emulate. Definitely like being wowed sometimes. But then, yeah, it sucks when you go to a place that you're spending decent money on and you just like, you know, I should have just got something at home. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, mate.
It's really nice to catch up. And yeah, I appreciate you sending me over this Soundfood cookbook and vinyls. And
it's for everyone can still get it. We've got about like 100 or so copies left. So yeah, it's on my website if you want to link that. I don't know.
Yeah, we can link it in the description. So yeah, if anyone wants a cookbook and a vinyl with a bunch of cool tunes on it, with every song being paired with a recipe, then look in the description.
Let me know when you are in Melbourne next, and we will put you on for a Soundfood. I reckon you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Do a full vegetarian version.